Hello and welcome to this episode of She Speaks Hope. Today I am joined by my co-host Jadida Titus, and we have a lovely surprise. The beautiful, awesome Nithya Sevagan is joining us on set today. Nithya is the founder of Scarlet Incon Missions, and if you would like to know more about her ministry, you can check www.scarletincon.org. Nithya, introduce yourself, girl.
Thank you so much, Susanna and Janita, for having me. I'm a wife, mom, and we help people to get people delivered. So very glad to be here with Susanna and Janita.
All right. So today what we're going to be discussing about is currently what would be another bad four-letter word, which is rest. I know rest is meant to be all that and a bag of chips, but our society, the current generation, seems to be struggling with it. So I'm going to open up the conversation, and especially with Nithya being here, Nithya deals a lot in inner healing, right? Part of inner healing is where we get ourselves into a knot and we are constantly struggling to get ourselves to the places of rest. So with that being said, Nithya, your thoughts on it first, and then we can deal like what science tells about it, neuroscience, psychology, so on and so forth, and then finally, of course, the truth of it all is in Jesus Christ, right? Okay, Nithya, do you want to start us off?
Yes, for personally rest, I struggled with lack of sleep for many years. Could be my childhood. I had many years of sleepless nights. Till this day, there are days I deal with it. So this is a dear topic to me. And as we discuss it, my prayer is we'll have a better understanding of what rest is and what rest is not.
Correct. Yeah, and so, the idea for this topic was triggered when I saw that a lot of people, even after 8 hours of sleep, because that's what science says, right? Your body needs 8 hours of sleep at least as an adult. Somewhere between 7 to 9 hours of sleep. What I'm seeing is even after that many number of hours of sleep, people are still struggling with their day-to-day tasks. And so why is that? And as I kept thinking, I've realized that rest is not just us getting to bed and closing our eyes and sleeping. Rest is more like you need emotional rest, you need social rest, you need physical rest, you need spiritual rest, and you also need a psychological reset, so on and so forth. So with our generation struggling about it, I first wanted to speak about the neuroscience of rest, right? Jadida, what would you say is the neuroscience of rest?
Well, I know for a fact that even if you get sleep, like reasonable hours of sleep, if in the past you didn't, that builds up something called sleep debt, and you still end up trying to deal with that in your day-to-day life. Like during the work week, I might only get like 6 or 7 hours of sleep, and on the weekends I try and sleep more, but really that's not going to make up for it. Despite my best hopes and dreams, I want that sleep to make up for what I've missed. It does not.
So you are telling that, sleeping many hours in the weekend is not going to pay up the debt of not sleeping enough during the week?
From what I've understood, yes.
Okay, so here's what I was reading, right? Even when you are sleeping, your brain is busy. Right? And what it does being busy is it's not being busy like you want it to be busy. What it's doing is it's strengthening memories that are important. And, it also, there's something called as default mode network. And the default mode network is where your creativity, your self-reflection, your future, your planning, all this increases. So when you're sleeping, that's the network that is activated. So if you want to be more creative, if you want to be, more aha moments and things like that, comes during sleep. And that's the neuroscience of rest, because when you are resting, it doesn't mean that the brain actually shuts down completely. Your brain is doing important activity. So, when we talk about physical rest, right? What would you say is the best way to sleep?
Like, what do you mean by that? Like,
Would you say the positions, or would you say, I mean, we have a whole, the proper bed, the proper temperature, blackout curtains. I mean, they have a whole slew of things we could use to make our rest better.
Yeah, but I was also thinking, like, the number of hours after eating that we fall asleep also plays into your sleep cycles, right?
Correct.
Like going to bed right after you finish eating.
it's not usually ideal from what I've heard. Yeah.
Yes. I'm no doctor, no psychologist for this reason, but they do say that it takes like few hours for your digestive system to shut down so you can sleep well. So if you eat before you go to bed, it's still working, so you don't get a restful sleep.
Correct, because I think your brain is busy helping the stomach digest the food, and so with all the activity going, your brain is not able to go into the creative mode. It's still helping the physical part of the body to get into that place of being ready for sleep, right? The other kind of rest that I was thinking about is the mental rest, right? Because if you go to bed, even if you are in bed, you go through the motions of black curtains and getting all that done. But if your mind is racing million miles a minute, your body is not going to be able to sleep.
Yeah, I've been a victim of that. Sunday night, I'll be thinking about work and everything I'll have to do this week. Like, this is going to happen and this is going to happen. I have a meeting tomorrow. I have to sleep, and I will not sleep.
Yeah, I mean, I've found that to be the case. Like, if I have to like leave for an early morning flight and I've already set my alarm, and then my mind will be thinking about that. What if I miss the alarm? Like, why would you miss the alarm, right? What if the something happens and the phone alarm doesn't go off? I go into all these rabbit holes, and then my mind, like, even when I sleep, I will be like wide awake. Like, I will be able to like wake up every 2 minutes, and I'm like looking at the clock trying to go back to sleep, which is not ideal, right?
I was going to say on that, I believe the biggest issue, one of the biggest issue for sleeplessness, I think it's fear.
Yeah.
Which is something that we could speak about doing multiple inner healings. In this case, I've noticed anxiety and fear keeps a person up. So until we deal with the fear, I don't know how much of a quality sleep a human being can get.
You're so right? We are a society where there is like fear in everything. There's fear even about speaking about fear.
Yes. I coming from a culture, we grew up in a quite a bit of fear for everything. A fear of the dark, fear that if a black cat passes you, then something bad is going to happen. Fear that if you see we call it crow, you guys call it raven here. When we see a crow, it's a bad omen. We see if you go in a particular hour of the day, then it's so that the fear is like, don't do that, don't go there. So we are built based on, like, we were raised on
fear-based culture.
Yes.
Because that is the way we try to control people from the get-go. I mean, there is something as a healthy fear. Yes. But instead of the healthy fear, as a culture, we step it up. Like, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. You eat that, that's it. The next day you're going to fall sick.
Yes. How would you define, Susanna, a healthy fear? I would say, because, what would we define as healthy fear?
Okay, so healthy fear would be there is a pot of hot water on the stove. You respect that. You don't pull it on you, right? Because you're going to scald yourself.
Correct.
So there is something called a healthy fear. You don't jump off a building or a moving truck. That's a healthy fear because you know what? There's Earth gravitational pull.
Yes.
And it's going to work against you when you're falling and you're going to hurt yourself. So there is something as a healthy fear. It's an emotion. The healthy fear, the emotion helps you to deal with your day-to-day life, to preserve life. Right? The other thing that we were talking was a human being is born with only two kinds of
Two
fear.
fears, yes.
One is fear of falling
And loud noises.
Loud noises. Everything else is learned fear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, which goes on to say in the night, so as you and Jarida was speaking about, if you're going to bed thinking about the alarm, thinking about the tomorrow, then my question would be for myself or anybody who's a believer in Christ, is that do we not trust the Lord to wake us up? Do we not trust the Lord will lead us in our work? So there is a problem of trust that goes along with fear, isn't it?
And I also think, right, it is like almost you have a short-term memory, the memory of a goldfish. How many times has God woken me up? Multiple times. Yet, it's like, I think it's a control issue too.
Yes,
we want to control everything. The Taipei's want to control everything, right? So yeah. Also talking about mental rest, right? I read something about the Pomodoro effect.
Pomodoro effect, yes.
So when you do something for 25 minutes, and then you take a break. So if you are, let's say, writing for teaching in Scarlet Incorn or something like that, you do something for 25 minutes and then you take a short break. And then when you get back to it, your brain, it's almost like your brain refires again on all cylinders.
Wow.
Because if you push through beyond that, your brain gets tired. So I think even in teaching and things like that, that is a good method. So have you tried that out?
I tried it out back when I was in college, freshman year. That was the year of the pandemic and everyone was at home. And it was harder for me to focus during that time because I'm at home. There's a lot of other things that I'd rather be doing at home than staring at a computer screen trying to focus on survey of organic chemistry. So that's when I started bringing the Pomodoro method into my classwork because I was like, okay, I need to lock in, I need to focus. I just don't feel like doing it.
I guess my question would be, if we do 25 minutes and then 5 minutes of break, 25 minutes, 5 minutes of break, have you guys noticed this, like sometimes you want to just go for, you are in a focus time and you don't want anybody to disturb you because you are in the zone, you want to go for 3 hours straight, and we all have been in that.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how that effect will affect people who wants to go hours at length.
I think Pomodoro effect works for like certain types of people, and other people work best when they hit a flow state and they go and start working. Like, I know it's not entirely relevant, but I've heard for a lot of neurodivergent individuals, like individuals with autism or ADHD, they have like flow states where they can hyper focus, but in them it's taken to the next extreme where they'll focus so hard on a task they'll ignore bodily cues to like eat, go to the bathroom, things like that.
Yeah.
I would say for
there
the
has
video
to be like a
gamers,
happy.
right? I would say for the video gamers.
I mean, the video gamers have a large overlap with the neurodivergent circles, in my opinion.
Okay, so that's a good transition point for us because the next kind of thing that actually pulls our body down is the sensory rest. Because like you can go to bed at the right time, you can even switch your your thinking patterns and things like that. But if you have too much sensory stimulation, your body is not resting, right? Because overstimulation drains energy. And I think more than any other kind, this is something that voluntarily that our generation pulls ourselves into, right? I mean, we have our phones, and if we don't have our phones, we have our laptops. If we don't have our laptops, we have our tablets. If we don't have our tablets, we have our television that goes on and on. Like we call it our white noise, right? We, even if you're not watching, we want some
something.
stimulation from there. So that is also one of the reasons why people cannot get rest. What do you think we can do for things like that?
I've heard it said that, like, for regulating your sleep patterns for blue light, at least for the phones, you can, like, start shutting your phones down maybe, like, 30 minutes to an hour or so before you sleep.
2 hours.
2
before
hours?
sleep.
Really? Okay.
2 hours before. That's what I've heard.
Okay,
If you want to have a good quality sleep, like turn off all your gadgets. And I think in this day and age, I don't even know if it's possible. We love our electronic leashes, right? We are like constantly, from being a leash, it has become a leech, where it's like literally pulling off of us. We are constantly like hooked. For a generation, I think we talk so much about freedom, but we really do not know that switching these things can give us freedom.
And you also wonder, back in the day, it's one of the reasons I keep it on is for emergencies. Okay, what if somebody wants to connect with you? I mean, middle of the night, if there is something happens to a family member, then you need to keep it on. But my point is, back in the day when we didn't have this connection, how did people connect with each other in emergencies? I mean, they couldn't just call anybody immediately. The Lord took care of them, and the humanity survived. So I think the question is, what happened to us that we are so glued to our phone, the instant, I guess, the gratification to immediately know what's happening.
Yeah.
You know, that has become such a need.
Yeah, we want it now, and we want it like this second, not in a minute.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, when we are searching for something on our phones, if the connectivity is not good, I find myself getting so frustrated.
And do you remember the dial-in back in the day? You know, the sound that comes when you have to dial in to connect to the internet?
Yeah, and wait for it to like...
That was amazing back in the day. So now if 5 seconds delay irritates us. Like, what is going on? What's happening?
I think we've been progressively trained to, like, want shorter and shorter delay.
Mind control.
Yeah, I think progressively we've been seeking like instant gratification too.
Because once you get like that first taste of it, you like that sense of control and like the information that comes with it. Like, you know now. And I can, at least for like the emergency situations, like it is very comforting to know that if anything happens to, like, say I'm driving and something, like when I was driving and I accidentally hit the gas instead of the brakes and brushed my dad's car against a stop sign, it was very nice to have to be able to call him immediately, like, Dad, something's gone wrong.
See, that brings us back to the age-old problem, right? First is food is our biggest temptation.
Yes.
And the next thing is knowledge.
I was just going to say, going back to the garden.
Yeah.
Eve wanted to be like God, right? She wanted to know everything. I mean, these lines that runs in all of us.
Yeah, and it's in our DNA print, I think, right? Well, because God created us in His image, but then like we didn't realize that we had our design perfect. We wanted to fix it. First, because we wanted to eat something that we were told not to eat, so we still have that problem. Tell somebody not to eat something, that's the first thing I'm going for, right? And then the next thing is that, you know, we want to know more. We want to know more all the time.
Absolutely. I mean, even the sleep patterns, you know, I wonder, you know, I grew up in a different country and then we naturalized in America, so we didn't have blackout curtains. You know, we didn't have beds that would, you know, have the right temperature. Well, we're blessed to have it now. But what if we don't have that? Didn't our forefathers get enough sleep? These are the thoughts that runs through your mind. And to think, I mean, it's good to have these luxuries. It's good to, I guess it's good to have comforts. But they did sleep.
Yeah, and I think, you know, true to that point, they did not have gadgets, right? They didn't have all that stuff.
They helped them sleep.
Yeah, and because I remember growing up in my grandparents' house, by 6:37, the whole neighborhood will be so quiet. Like everybody will be in their house, the wind down begins.
Correct.
And
as
then
the sun goes down, you wind down.
Yeah, and then by 8:30, everybody is asleep.
Yes.
And then you wake up like at 4 in the morning, and then your day commences with that.
Yes.
And nobody needed, like you said, blackout curtains. Nobody needed
the beds with the right
gummies
temperature.
to put them to sleep.
Melatonin
Yeah,
gummies.
the melatonin gummies, so on and so forth. Okay, so
I feel like that's also like a part of living in urban or suburban life where there's constant light, stimulation, noise. People are still, like, last night I was out in Atlanta with a friend and I was surprised. I shouldn't have been surprised by the amount of people out Friday night in Midtown, but I was. I was like, wow, there are a lot of people out. There's a lot of stuff going on.
yeah, so sensory rest is required, right?
To add to that, Julita, growing up, we grew up in, Susan and I, we grew up in a very busy city. I think the noise became like a soothing, lack of a better word. The white noise became soothing. So I wonder, I wonder whether the Lord designed us so well that we adapt.
Yeah, we do.
Because He's given us such shift that we could shift to adapt. I think it's really the awe of God how we can shift, because we were able to sleep. Because if I have to say only a blackout curtain and lack of noise can go to sleep, then what about the rest of the countrymen all around the world who don't have that?
Yeah.
Doesn't God provide for them? Would because God provides for all of us. But it's marvelous how we shift.
Yeah, and another thing that's very important for rest is emotional rest.
Yes.
Right, so we've been talking about physical rest, sensory rest. The other one is emotional rest. And where if your emotions are running high all the time, if you have trauma, try going to sleep, right? Inner healing, we've seen that several times, correct?
We speak much about soul parts. Psalm says that God restores the soul, which means the soul can be broken.
Yeah.
So when the soul, let's say a child goes through extensive trauma when they are young and they've been abused, that particular soul part carries the abuse and the remembrance of what happened. So every time the person goes to sleep, an adult person goes to sleep, that soul part that was fearful of the dark, fearful of somebody coming and abusing them or taking advantage of them, that soul is awake. That part of the soul cannot rest. That part of the mind is awake, looking for danger all the time. Imagine them ever sleeping well. They cannot until the soul is healed and they come to an understanding that God will protect them. Even though they feel like, where was God when that happened, right? So you have to go through the inner healing process.
Yeah, and to your point, Natya, like I've read stories of people being in war-torn places, and even when they leave those areas and come into, maybe move here and or other places, yet they cannot sleep in the night because a part of them is always awake and alert
and reliving that
trauma over and over again. So of course, emotional rest. What are your thoughts, Jed?
I know with like soldiers who come back from war and the PTSD they struggle with, that hypervigilance shows up in all aspects of their life, whether that be sleep or as simple as like the 4th of July. I know that a lot of soldiers can still get stressed out by the fireworks because it might remind them of heavy weaponry being deployed. At least that's what I think I remember.
Yeah. And that is true. And Nitya, from your perspective of all the inner healings we've done and you have personally done, what are your thoughts?
I can speak from personal experience, so to make more sense. It took me years, probably 8 to 10 years to go to sleep because my childhood was not that great. There were certain things that happened. I didn't understand. There was a part of me always staying vigilant. So until I got healed, which is what we stress in healing a lot, until I got healed and the soul knew that it can rest under the shadow of Adonai, under the wings of Him. And it is a constant, when I go to sleep, I'll tell my soul, rest under the Lord. Spirit, speak to the Lord because your spirit and soul are given to you by God. These are things that is not just for one person. Anybody who believes in the Lord can bring it up. Even the ones who don't believe, the Bible says, taste and see I'm good, so they can give a shot to God and Jesus Christ and He will help them. But we have seen a difference. It takes time. For some it takes overnight, for some it takes months. We cannot put a timeline on it. But as they ask the Father to heal them, they can go to sleep. At least that fear is gone. Well, they might pick up new fears, like fear of work Monday morning, what am I going to do? We might pick up new fears. I'm not saying that's not guaranteed, but the point is there is a constant surrender when we go to bed. I think it's a very, like as we turn off the phone, brush our teeth and go to bed, I think we need to also surrender our soul and spirit to God every night. It's not a routine, it's not a ritualistic thing. It's a surrender to God. Lord, give me rest. I think it's very important.
Yeah, I agree with you, because I think, there are certain things that we have been overlooking.
Yes.
That has been adding up over the years that causes us to not be in that place of rest. The other rest that I wanted to bring up is social rest, right? Not everyone restores you. Some folks drain you.
Yes.
Where are we going with that?
I was thinking more along the lines of introversion versus extroversion, because I'm pretty sure I'm an introvert. Like going through work and coming back, I'm like, I may have talked to like 7 people today, but that 7 people is too many people. Please let me just not talk to anyone for like the next 5 hours.
Yeah, and talking about people who drain, sometimes we intentionally put ourselves in their
Correct.
path. It's like
Sometimes we have no escape.
well, we have no escape, but sometimes intentionally, I will put, knowing fully well that somebody drains me, I will call the phone to talk to them. It's like I have this self-inflicting.
Why do you think that's happening? I mean, I think a lot of people can understand or resonate with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Why do you think that's happening?
Because, somewhere there is a soul tie, right? Between
yes.
you and that person. Maybe you were best friends with them. Maybe you were, working with them, work colleague. Or maybe you, did ministry with them. And people don't understand that, some things are not meant to be. They don't build you up. Some people don't build you up. They're just toxic. Right? Growing up the way we did, Nithya, several times you go to all these celebrations and things with all the some of the toxic people and coming, and fully well somebody's going to comment on your weight, somebody's going to comment on how you did your hair, somebody's going to comment on why you smiled, and somebody's going to comment
why
on
you didn't smile.
So
I really think to navigate the culture we come from, it connects us to your cultures too. It takes a lot of emotional maturity to navigate our culture, because, like you said, you can never do anything right. Like something is wrong.
Yes, somebody's going to get ticked off with you.
Yes.
Right? So I think a social rest is also required. Like Judita said, some of us are introverts. We need that quiet time to just sit and be. And then some of us just, need healthy social
Correct.
connections that will build and cleanse us.
Yes.
I mean, I've been blessed with friends who are healthy social connection, who, even if I'm not talking, I will just sit and listen to them talk, right? And they will build me up. My family members do that. Sometimes I'm just sitting, I let them all do the conversation, and I'm just listening.
Just enjoying in the presence,
So I think that is one of the other areas where we voluntarily drain ourselves out.
What do you think about invitations? Let's say, you get like 5 invitations to go to places. What would you say a social rest in that would be? Because we all get invitations to go to many places, and it's sometimes dishonorable to say no, because you love them, you want to be in their presence, right? But you know that you're not emotionally stable to go to places yet. So what would you say? But people put themselves through anyways. They'll push it through and they'll go, even though they know they're going to be dishonored, slandered, and whatnot. What would your thoughts be on that?
Okay. I think that even before we go to such places, the first thing we need to do is pray and ask for strength, right? If you decide to go, right, or if there's no way you can say a no, and your presence is required, first of all, pray and ask the Lord to remove some of the situations.
Correct.
Right? Because if He can shut the mouth of lions, He can shut the mouth of several people who are waiting to nag you. Right?
Yes.
I was thinking you just shut down that part of the social calendar entirely.
I mean, that's another way to go about it, I guess.
I think if you come from our culture back back home in India, there are some things you cannot say no to.
Yes.
Even if you want
though
to.
I did, and I paid a dear price for it, but yes.
Yeah. So I think, praying intentionally.
Yes.
For the situation, because sometimes the older I get, this is what I understand. People who socially drain you are doing that because they see something in you
that want.
charges them, right? So therefore, they, even if they are like constantly telling you, oh, you need to dress better, oh, you need to speak better, oh, you need to do this better, you need to call me more, you need to do this, you need to do that. It's because they are longing for that connection.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? So I think just praying, asking the Father to help him see things the way he sees, right? And sometimes God may tell you, no, you don't have to go. Even if the whole world is going to be mad at you, stay, sit with me. I think we need to honor that for our own wellness sake. But if he gives you the grace to go, then go when he gives you the grace.
Yes, and a true friend, a true person, like a person who truly loves and cares for you will understand if you say no to them, saying, hey, I'm not doing well, I think I need to stay back. I really think that's another, I guess, a test of friendship to see whether you really have true friends or you have friends, as what is a word that they say?
Fair weather
friends, So I think that also tells you, because if you're not well, you're going to drain them too when you get there.
Yeah, because people only see the physical aspect of things, but there is a spiritual aspect of things, and some people just become leeches. I think today leech is my favorite word. So some people become leeches. They drain energy, right? They latch on to you. They
energy vampires.
Yeah.
They suck the blood out.
Yeah. So I think that is something our generation needs to be aware of. We need to ask the Father if we have the grace to go, and if there is grace to go, then we go. We only stay as far as the grace is. It's like Cinderella's, pumpkin turning at chariot turning back to pumpkin at midnight. You have grace only till midnight, then stay only till midnight. Walk away.
That's a really good practical Monday morning example. To walk away.
Yeah.
You're done. It's okay to.
It's okay to back off, and like a lot of people don't understand that you do things with people for a certain time, and when you see the grace lifting, it's okay to back away, because you want to preserve that friendship. You don't want to burn that friendship out completely, because one of the things that I read, which was very, very interesting for me, is that psychologically, right, it says the brain function imaging shows that when people are sleep deprived, the amygdala, the emotional center of the brain, reacts strongly to negative events, while regions responsible for self-control becomes less effective.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, because
makes a lot of sense.
So if you are actually completely sleep deprived, or relationship in that area has been depriving you of rest, you going over there thinking you're going to make your friend, your auntie, your uncle, somebody happy, you going over there, your decision making levels are down to begin with,
and you might say something that could completely burn the bridge.
Yeah, and you and also you react strongly to negative things. So that's why something that normally wouldn't bother you would totally trigger you, and you will blow steam off.
When you said the lack of self-control, which not having sleep does, was very interesting to me, because I notice if I don't get sleep, I'm tired, I look for caffeine the whole day, some form of, my diet is out of control because I'm just trying to stay up. And you're right, you really lack, I'm not patient, quick to snap at people. But then, so on that note, on the vein of that, what would you say as a believer in the Lord, right? We have done all-night prayers. That's going to have lack of sleep. What would you say to that? Because when I do all nights, at times when the Lord calls to do all night prayers, sometimes there is grace. Sometimes I don't know whether I'm doing it from my own strength, so there's no grace for it. the next whole day is gone. Like I'm just operating on like 20% of my battery. What would you say to that? Like how do we?
So here's my thought about it, right? First of all night prayer is biblical because we see in the Bible, in the early church, people prayed. When Paul was in prison, they prayed. When Peter was in prison, they prayed.
Christ prayed all night.
Christ prayed all night, right? For just before he did huge things, before picking his disciples,
yes.
he prayed all night. So there is a place for all night. Once again, the grace allows all night for certain things. Now, as we saw in Acts, they did not do all night every night.
Yes, that's true.
They only did it at pivotal time. Paul, the leader, is in prison. They're praying that he's out, because if they don't pray tomorrow morning, he may be executed. Same for Peter, right? Okay, so pivotal times call for pivotal measures, but God created the night for sleep.
Correct.
When God created the nights, he didn't say, I'm creating the night so you can pray all night. So
true.
Yeah,
Very
so
true.
I have had seasons of all night prayers. When I went through very difficult times in my life, yes, I was gung-ho. I love all night prayer. I've told you that many times. I love it. But rest is critical, because the way God wired the human body is that we were made for activity, we were made for rest, and biblically we see God after after 6 days of doing work, seventh day he rested. Now, does Almighty God need rest? No. He, the Bible says he does not sleep, he does not slumber, he does not need rest. But yet, he rested. Why? Because he wanted to teach us a pattern. Right? 1 in 7 days is meant for rest. So sometimes we think we are holier than God. And sometimes we think that our prayer is what gets to move the hand of God. And I think that's where the problem comes, because God in his sovereignty allows us to partner with him, but it always, as Jesus taught us, his will on earth, not my will be done. Right? Sometimes that's how we treat our prayers. We think by doing all night prayers, by praying loudly, by praying long prayers, wordy prayers, somehow we are moving the hand of God. And
so we are saying that the eloquence of my prayers, if I speak the right words and if I have the magic word, somehow God is going to move. So we've just made him to be different than the biblical Christ, who is not that.
That's more magical thinking than anything else, merging into like territory of like the stories from the Middle East and Arabia about the jinn. If you do not phrase your request to a jinn the right way, they can and will warp the words back on you. Like there's this one meme on social media I remember seeing from a Tumblr post, and it says, if you want to ask for this specific pastry from a jinn, you have to be specific and say, like, phrase it right, because otherwise the jinn could give you this one type of wasp instead, saying it's the same name, but no, you wanted the pastry, not the wasp.
On that same vein, we have stories like Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves. When you go up to the magic vault, you're supposed to say the right word, otherwise it will not open. I mean, we do believe that our words carry weight. Our words, because we are created in the image of God, the words we speak have the power to build or to destroy.
Life and death.
Life and death is in the power of the tongue. All that is correct, but at the same time, it's not our words that is actually turning the hand of God to do something apart from the will of God. If God has willed something into action, he thinks it through, like Abraham, right? In the story of Abraham speaking to God about Sodom and Gomorrah, God already knew the number of people who were going to be, who he's going to save. God had all that figured out, but he did allow Abraham to have that conversation. And so that, it was almost like getting Abraham to that place of saying, God knows what he's doing. Because otherwise...
And he's a just God.
Yeah, he is.
He is a just God. He knows what to do. He's not a cruel God. He's a kind, fully justice, fully merciful, fully righteous. There is not a 50-50. He's full of all that. So you're right. Abraham learned that God can be trusted fully.
Yeah.
That he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, and because Abraham starts off with the bargaining process, he comes down. If there are 10 righteous, and God says, if there are 10, I'm not going to destroy. Because God knew fully well, Lot and his daughter and his wives all put together still wouldn't be 10.
But that's another topic for another day probably. There were not even 10 righteous
in that place.
That's sobering. That you can come to a place where there's a city or a town, not even 10 righteous men and women can live there. I mean, that's hard to understand.
That's humbling too.
Yes, because we have 7 continents, and we believe we have people who believe in the Lord in every continent. I don't know about Antarctica, but the rest of them.
I'm sure there are people who believe in the Lord in Antarctica. They're doing research down there. The penguins, definitely. I was thinking more about the scientific researchers. I'm sure
you're right. Some of them could be.
Truly, the Lord made all this ice. Wow.
Yeah.
And the penguins,
Yeah,
so
true.
Don't forget the penguins.
So back to rest. The biology of rest, right? Our body actually repairs itself when we sleep. Like a person who's sleep deprived, their immunity level is very low.
Yes.
I've definitely seen that at work. Like our work schedule can be very variant. Some days it's fairly regular, other days we're putting in a lot of overtime, and I've seen in those periods where there's overtime and there's a lot of stress at work and we're all trying to juggle multiple spinning plates, more and more coworkers are going down with sickness, and I'm like, oh boy. I haven't, like, by the grace of God, I haven't been one of those coworkers who's gotten sick. But like this past week when I left, my manager was like, guys, vitamin C, please. I cannot have any one of you getting sick during this period. We're short-staffed. People are going on vacation. No one can get sick. Do you hear me?
I wish it's that simple. I declare and decree nobody can get sick.
Power of the tongue.
Yeah, I command you not to be sick, and we will not be.
Yeah, and also the other thing is rest is when the body grows. Like children, when they get their
they have growth sprouts, which puts them to a longer hours of sleep. Yes, that's right.
Yep. So, and also cells repair damage when we are sleeping. And of course, the energy levels that are depleted during the day, they build back up. So it's like your battery charging. So one of the imageries that, that I saw with regards to rest is like a city. During the day, rush hour traffic, all that happens, everything is going back and forth. But then in the night, when everything quiets, that's when the roads can be repaired. That's when, construction work on the main highways, all that happen. Now, if we say, we always need to be go, what happens to all that? At some point, everything will deteriorate and come to a grinding halt.
I've seen it said on the internet in a very succinct way. Like, if you do not schedule regular maintenance, the maintenance will be scheduled for you against your own will.
Oh, that is so true.
That is true, and that's scary too. Yeah, because when maintenance is scheduled for you without you scheduling it, it's not pretty.
That going to spiritually on that, I've noticed that when the let's say the father tells you to rest, says that you're working, take the Sunday off or whatever day that suits you, because some people work on Sundays. So let's say you take a Monday off. And we refuse to do it. We go 7 days fully, like you said. Sometimes we think we're better than God. I've noticed a pattern with those people. Over time, they're put to rest. Either their body gives out, where they have to rest now for months on end. And this is not like to scare anybody, but we've seen a pattern of that happening to people, where they're forced to rest. Like you said, if you're not going to put do the update and everything, the maintenance will be applied to you. The same thing happens spiritually. I feel I believe it's a principle that if we don't rest, it'll come to you.
Reaping and sowing.
Yes.
Even with like land, actually, like in the
resting.
in the Old Testament, the Lord decreed that they should have a 7-year calendar, and after the 7 years was up, the land lies fallow. You don't farm, you don't do anything. Whatever just grows, you eat it. And the Lord usually, and to their concerns, the Lord said, in the 6th year, I'll provide like a double harvest to carry you through that 7th year, and whatever you feel the harvest isn't doing, whatever you've grown and harvested isn't enough, then you can just scavenge and forage. And during the reign of the kings of Israel and Judah, that wasn't observed. So the Lord said, okay, y'all aren't doing the regular scheduled maintenance. I'm scheduling it for you. You're leaving the land. The Babylonians are going to make it lie empty for 49 years or 70 years.
70 years.
70 years.
I think 10 years for each year that
For each year that they didn't do. And true to that, nature follows a very strict rest patterns. If you see, like, even bears and all these wild animals, they hibernate. So they know that they need to, and they can come back full force when they come back, right? Everything that God created follows a pattern. Bless you. And when we go against that pattern, we are setting ourselves up for failure.
Yes. I believe it's a biblical principle to follow a day of rest. But now it comes to another story, whether it has to be Sunday, whether it has to be Saturday. I mean, that's again another topic.
Pick a day, any day.
Pick a day, right? Everybody has their opinions of what day it needs to be.
Yeah, so, before we wind down, I was thinking of some of the passages in the Bible that speaks to rest. One is Psalm 46, right, where the psalmist says, the earth is quaking, this is happening, that is happening, but at the same time he says, be still and know. So it's not like, everything has to be perfect around us for us to rest and know. Despite what is going on around us, we have to be still and know God.
Amen.
Because ultimately, I think all our rest, right? We talked about physical rest, mental rest, sensory rest, social rest, all kinds of rest. If we know our God,
we rest at all times, even in the midst of a storm.
We can rest.
We can rest. It's an inner, when I say this, inner peace. If anybody have watched Kung Fu Panda, the panda says inner peace and then a dinner please. Anyways, only few would have gotten that. So going back, so I think it's the inner peace, right? The inner peace helps us to rest. And I want to also add this scripture, Susanna. It's Matthew 11:28. It says, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. So this rest, when you look it up, it has 3 meanings, right? Interestingly, the same word rest is also used for the famous verse, since we do deliverance, the famous verse that says, when you cast a demon out, it'll go in the wilderness seeking rest. It's the same rest word. It's the same rest. So this word rest means refreshing, a place of dwelling. So refreshing is, if you notice, not everybody gets refreshed just because they sleep. Sometimes you doing something that you're designed to do, it gives you a lot of refreshing. And I think that we have probably, the word is very narrow. Rest means only sleep. Rest is also something that you love to do, that refreshes you.
Creative rest.
Yes, creative rest that refreshes you, because God says, right, rest in this word, it's also refreshing. So I wonder if every person, because a lot of people don't even know what they like to do. So I think it's an adventure for them a journey, I should say, for them to figure out what they like to do, because I think it's a personhood to do what you're called to do. Also, because, when we are growing up in a very constrained, some religious principles, they say that, you can rest in heaven.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. You don't need necessarily rest on earth. Which is kind of contrary to what God said. But it flies. I guess it sounds good. It sounds very righteous. Very serving the Lord, which is all good. Which is we need to serve the Lord. I think but creativity is kind of like put down. In the religious settings, it's like, oh, you can like just do the work. Yeah. Why do you care about doing something? I think it really suppresses it doesn't let our brain develop.
Talking about creativity, like, have you noticed if when you paint or when you do something artsy, if your design is to that, if you do that, you connect with God faster.
Yes.
Than what you would do doing something that, like, I've heard one of the people I follow on Insta also talk about it, where she says she actually paints or does something artsy before she sees. She's a seer. So before she sees, that's what she does. And somehow doing creative stuff opens herself to the power and the presence of God. Right? So I think each one of us are designed differently.
Yes.
But we need to know what is that creative rest in us.
In fact, all the psychologists can fact check me. What I've heard is that the painting, it works on your right side of the brain. So a lot of people who've been through extreme trauma, for me, painting has helped. I'm no way a good painter, but I can do paint by numbers. So when they do painting, it fires the right brain, because your left is illogical, all the facts and everything. So the right brain is where the traumas, emotions are settled. To heal that, you have to access it. Painting opens it up. So some of the psychologists even give to their PTSD patients to paint. I mean, I don't know how some men might agree to painting. It might be beneath them.
I think more men should.
They should, but I'm not sure whether they would. Just my husband, even if I ask him to paint, he'll be like, no way. So, but a painting it opens up the right brain.
Yeah. And on that point, the other verse is Psalm 23, right? He leads me beside still waters. And I know what Jedida is thinking and laughing. Jerusha used to say, he leads me beside still waters, and I go to sleep, kind of thing. Like when she was little, trying to teach her how to memorize Bible verses, this is what she used to do. But I think that's good, right? He leads me beside still waters. He makes me lie down in green pastures, and right after that, he restores my soul.
The process of
the
it,
process
right? The
leads
steps.
you, makes you lie down, and in that rest, he restores your soul.
Yeah, it begins with Christ.
Yes.
Leading. Following is leading.
Yeah.
Then the process happens.
So I thought that was a beautiful imagery of rest that is needed. You go with Christ as he allows you to rest. Please rest. And then from that place, allow him to restore your soul. Yep. All right. So with that being said, we're going to bring this plane to land. What is our takeaway? Like at the end of the day, when we've said it all, what is it that we want our audience to remember? Of course, please listen to the whole thing, but what about rest?
I would say the last, how you ended with the psalm.
Okay.
It wraps the whole thing. It begins with Christ, and it has to end with him.
Yes.
So our rest, because we're not guaranteed, we're not going to have trials. Nobody's guaranteed that. We're all guaranteed trials, actually. Because, it says in the scripture, I've had trials, Christ says, and you're going to have it too. But rejoice, I've overcome it, you will too, right? So that's guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. Many things might be guaranteed, but that's definitely guaranteed. So I believe that the way you ended with going with God, being led by him in every situation. So Monday morning comes, work comes, asking God, why am I so nervous, Lord? Aren't you with me at work? Isn't you who gave me the job to begin with? So I believe that it's an everyday conversation for us to truly rest and model it to the world that is struggling to find rest.
Yeah, and I think every night, even before we go to bed, like you said, we pray, we, bless our souls to be at rest. But even before we do that, a good habit will be, what am I anxious about? And what does the Lord tell about this anxiety? And what is his promise?
Yes.
What has he said? I will never leave you, neither will I forsake you. Like you said, you gave me the job. Won't you help me do the job?
Yes.
Right? Because somehow as a society we think that we control everything. Our talent is what gotten us this far. No, I mean, with our children, as parents, we are constantly thinking about our children. What's going to happen to them? How they're going to do this? How they're going to do that? When I wake up in the morning, or if you're in ministry, what's going to happen? Well, what am I going to teach? What am I going to preach? What am I going to do this? So ultimately, it's God.
Absolutely.
You prepare what you need to, but learn to hand it over to Him and rest. All right? Any closing thoughts?
I mean, my thinking is rest can be sleep. It probably is sleep, but it's also a lot more than that. Like, it can be whatever restores you, whether that be writing, drawing, putting on a good playlist, and just like lying down and listening to the music.
Reading a book.
Yes, reading a book. I think that's very restful for me.
Me too. I'm with you, Jarida. I can read a book all the days of my life.
All right. So, however rest looks to you, I bless you to get to that place of rest with God, and then to see how you can control the other things that are causing anxiety in your life. Like Nitya said, in this world, we will have tribulations and trials. But with Jesus, we are more than conquerors, even in this area of rest. So blessings on you as you learn to rest in this season. God bless you. Bye.
Bye.